Thank you for that amazing speech. Sorry for all of my difficulties so far. Our last student speaker of the evening, last but certainly not least, please give a huge round of applause to Aditya Herekar. If you told me 3 years ago that I'd be a tutor one day, I would stop in my tracks. Are you telling me that could be me one day? And I laugh in your face if you decide to elaborate and tell me that I'd be an English tutor. I'd ask you, has you seen me grammar? And if you're still completely unfazed by my extreme rudeness and you told me that I'd be tutoring someone halfway across the world, I'd advise you to check your temperature and take a day off from school. But life has a weird way of surprising you. I'm a tutor who works with a student in Ukraine, learning English. It started off simply as a volunteering activity after school. Now, I'm sure you know a lot about volunteering, right? I mean, volunteering is that one tradition that brings together this big culture of high school students. And it had this vision. Me, the wise and the noble tutor, molding my student into a fluent English speaker. It was going to be like one of those Hallmark movies where everyone claps at the end. I approached our first meeting like it was a big exam. I had practice sentences, I had color-coded plans. I even had a role play in which my student would practice ordering from McDonald's, which, surprisingly, is also a pretty big thing in Ukraine. But around the halfway point of my precious McDonald's role play, tragedy struck. And I heard, yeah. I heard that. Now, that may have been a bit scary. Wouldn't you think? Fine. I know you all are brave, so maybe just shift in your seat a bit. But nevertheless, where are you? In a cafeteria filled with hundreds of people? In a school? In America? How do you think he felt? On his face, I could see a kind of quiet, a kind of practice fear. Like someone who's gotten used to being scared, but never stops being scared. He didn't say much, just, I'll be back soon, and he was gone. And finally, when he came back, I expected him to be shaken up. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? I would be. I'm sure you'd be too. But the words that he told me still stick with me to this day. He told me, and I quote, "Does the McDonald's ice cream machine really work in America?" And I knew he was in dire need of good news, but I couldn't just lie. No, it doesn't. But jokes aside, I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't fine. He was trying to be fine for me. And that was the point when I started comparing our lives. While I stressed about passing my French test on Friday, people were stressing about when they would eat next. While I whined about how unfair it was that the vending machine outside this very cafeteria stole my Doritos. People were grieving about how unfair it was to their close family, to their close friends who were prematurely taken away from them, whose only crime was living too close to where the bomb dropped. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying our problems aren't important. Failing a test, even having a bad day, those things matter. But when you see someone fighting battles that you can't even imagine, you realize that maybe, just maybe, the world isn't ending because you forgot your chemistry homework. Maybe your perfect shiny A+ is ending. That could be true. But not the world. The truth is, if we want to succeed, we need to be able to put our problems into perspective. If you're a student, you definitely know we have a lot of problems. And even if you aren't a student, but maybe you have a job, I think we also know that there are days when nothing seems like it's going right. But we have to realize that our problems are part of a bigger picture. I'll admit, that bigger picture isn't always neat. In fact, it's like a piece of abstract art. What is that? But sometimes the best way to understand those things, both your problems and abstract art, is to take a step back and look at them from a different angle. Now, we're all going to go through hard problems in our lives, and some of us have it better than others. That's just the truth. But while we can't change our problems, we can change how we approach them. So the next time your phone dies while you're trying to snap your friends, or maybe you get a frustrating score on a quiz, just remember, there is always a bigger picture. Those brushstrokes that make up the masterpiece, the painting that is your life, will not always be neat, but every single one has a place in that masterpiece that you're creating as you continue to grow and change and learn new things every single day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditya, and just one more huge round of applause for all of our student speakers tonight. So before I call our next speaker up to the stage, I want to give a little backstory on how we even discovered this speaker.